Welcome back to CBSN. Jeff Weaver is Bernie Sanders' campaign manager. He joins us from the debate site in Durham, New Hampshire. Jeff, thanks so much for being with us.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Jeff, let me just start off by asking you about the exchange that we played about the question regarding Hillary Clinton being willing to release the transcripts of her paid speeches to Goldman Sachs. As you well know, her answer to that was, I'll look into that. What did you make of her response?
Well, look, I think people deserve to know what went on in those speeches. Obviously, there was a tremendous amount of money that exchanged hands there, and I think just in the interest of transparency, that it would be good to know, what went on at that event and all the other many speeches that were given for similar amounts of money to various, corporate interests around the country.
So, is that something that the campaign might be calling on her to do, and to see what exactly was said during those private conversations, those private speeches?
Well, I think that was what one of the moderators asked. I thought it was certainly an interesting question. And, having heard one of the moderators ask it, as a voter, I would certainly like to know.
And does the campaign feel that's a reasonable request for her to release those transcripts? Is that something the Sanders campaign wants to see?
Well, Secretary Clinton said she would look into it. Let's see what they come back with.
All right, one of the things that we played for our viewers there just before the break was the heated exchange between the two candidates over the title of who is a progressive. And at one point there during Hillary Clinton's answer, she said, we have differences. I don't think it was particularly progressive to vote against the Brady bill 5 times. I don't think it was progressive to vote to give gun makers and sellers immunity. I don't think it was progressive to vote against Ted Kennedy's immigration reform. We heard Senator Sanders' answer to that, but what do you make of that? Because obviously there are members of the Democratic Party who would certainly agree with her, particularly on the gun issue.
Well, I think it was a very defensive answer on her part. Look, this whole exchange originated from the fact that back in September, Secretary Clinton said at an event in Ohio that some people had called her a moderate or a centrist, and she said, I plead guilty. So this is something to which she pled guilty. So it's not like it's something, a charge that just came out of nowhere. If you say you're a moderate, then you say you're a progressive. Are you a moderate or progressive? That was merely the question. And then she said she was a progressive. And then, I think it was important at that point to point out, one of the many areas where Secretary Clinton has taken a position that I think that is really not too progressive. In terms of gun legislation, Senator Sanders has a strong record on gun control legislation, has supported assault weapons bans since 1988, supported background checks since 1991, supported closing of the gun show loophole, supported a ban on large capacity magazines. So, this is ground that's obviously been hashed over many times in this campaign. In terms of the immigration bill, look, let's be clear. He supported the 2013 immigration bill, comprehensive immigration bill, has the most far-reaching plan for comprehensive immigration on the Democratic side by far. The 2007 bill to which the Secretary referred, look, that was opposed by LULAC, one of the largest Latino organizations in this country. The Southern Poverty Law Center said the centerpiece of that legislation was a program, a guest worker program that was akin to slavery. So, I don't think that was the right way to go. I think Senator Sanders had the right view on that. He is a strong supporter of making sure that we bring 11 million people in this country out of the shadows and putting them on a path towards citizenship.
Jeff, we have a question from one of our panelists here, Caitlin Huey-Burns with Real Clear Politics. She wants to ask you something.
Hi,
Sure.
Jeff. I'm wondering what you make of the way that Hillary Clinton has positioned herself as kind of the underdog in this race, setting pretty low expectations for herself in the state of New Hampshire, talking about how Sanders is a neighboring senator and has kind of a home field advantage. What do you make of that, and is that true?
Well, look, it is true that Senator Sanders does come from a neighboring state, but as people who know New Hampshire know, that most of the population in New Hampshire is on the other side of New Hampshire, closer to the Massachusetts border than on the Vermont side. That's just a fact. The other truth of the matter is that Secretary Clinton campaigned here in 2008 for president when she was trying to make sure that President Barack Obama did not become the president, and she won New Hampshire. So there's only one candidate here who's actually won a statewide race here in New Hampshire, that's Secretary Clinton. In fact, this is her second race of her own here in New Hampshire. Obviously, her husband ran here in New Hampshire twice. So, what we're looking at this time is the fourth Clinton race statewide in New Hampshire. So I would say that she has a number of built-in advantages here. She has a lot of institutional support and establishment support here in New Hampshire. But, is it true that we're from next door? Yes, it is.